But for now, though, I want us to cross over to the Supreme Court and join my colleague, Sophia Wanuna. Remember that today, just hours before the Supreme Court releases its detailed judgment on the reasons why it nullified the presidential election, there's that petition that has been filed before the JSC that is seeking to remove the two Supreme Court judges. One is the DCJ, Philomena Mwilu, and Isaac Lenaola. Let me bring in Sophia Wanuna to bring us the latest. So, Sophia, I don't know if you've been able to peruse through that petition. What is it saying?
Yes, Betty, a good morning to you. We have been able to go through that petition, holding both of them here, one against the Deputy Chief Justice Philomena Mwilu, as you rightfully put it, and one against Justice Isaac Lenaola, Judge of the Supreme Court as well. And just looking at it, we begin with that against the Justice Isaac Lenaola. He is being accused of having improper contact with Steve Mwenesi, having phone call conversations with him during the petition. Remember, Steve Mwenesi is a lawyer who was representing Amicus Curiae, that is LSK, that had been admitted by the Supreme Court at the time. Another person cited is Moses Wetangula. It's alleged that Isaac Lenaola, the judge, interacted with Moses Wetangula through his nephew, again, during the period of the hearing of the presidential election petition. Philip Etale is another that's mentioned in this petition. He's a communications director, the Orange Democratic Movement. As well, the allegations that not only did they have contact on phone, but also had physical meetings. And the evidence that's adduced on both these petitions, Betty, is on logs that I've been able to lay my eyes on, and they're quite bulky, and they're very specific on calls, how long those calls lasted, if it was SMSs, and if at any point these individuals were in the same location as well, that is indicated. So these two petitions heavily relying on those logs. Of course, we've been having conversations with various lawyers who poke holes into that, because to be able to access logs that are private, more so of a judge, first from the mobile service providers, poses security and privacy issues, but also the extent and the detail to which these logs cover any interactions, if at all they are authentic. I mean, that is one we'll wait to see. But also Ekuru Okota, who was an interested party, is cited as having interacted with Justice Lenaola, as well as James Orengo, this petitioner alleging through a sister of James Orengo, saying that it was her phone that was used to have these communications and also organize a meeting. This petitioner alleging that there was a meeting between James Orengo, the Deputy Chief Justice, as well as Moses Wetangula, and Justice Lenaola, that happened at an apartment in Kilimani. And the dates of that meeting are cited, one as 7th of August, another at on 18th of August. Willis Otieno as well, who is the head of the NASA Presidential Secretariat, as well, been quoted in this petition against Justice Isaac Lenaola. On the one against the Deputy Chief Justice, meetings with Amos Wako and conversations is what we are seeing. Records of those alleged conversations, alleged text messages, and this petitioner arguing that because Amos Wako is not only the Busia senator under the ODM party, which is Raila's party, but also was a counsel, a lawyer on record for the presidential candidate, that is Raila Odinga. Moses Wetangula as well, through his nephew, is also another allegation. But a very important point right now to make, Betty, we have gotten some information that the Judicial Service Commission, because remember, these two petitions are being filed with the Judicial Service Commission. They are the employers of the judges, so they are being asked to find that there was improper conduct and take disciplinary action against these two judges, citing gross misconduct. So the information we've gotten right now, Betty, is that they are convening here at the Supreme Court. They will be meeting in just a few moments. We have been able to speak to one of the members of the Judicial Service Commission, so we'll be able to bring you that information as we get it, when we are able to get more information. But remember, Betty, the Judicial Service Commission, chaired by the Chief Justice, and the Deputy Chief Justice, who's now been accused in this petition, is a member of that JSC as well. Betty. All
right, Sophia, just before I let you go, do we know much about who Derek Ngumu, who's the petitioner, is? The only thing we know is that he's the head of the Angaza Empowerment Network in Mombasa. Apart from that, do we know who he is? Because, I mean, he seems to have serious information. I mean, we wait to see the the authenticity of the phone logs, like you're mentioning. But really, he seems to know quite a bit. So really, do we know much about who he is and, where he's coming from? Is he just a basic Kenyan voter who wants to raise issues to do with both judges?
That is the big question, Betty, and many people have been asking, who is this man? We do not know yet more about him. We will seek to do so in the coming hours. But, you've seen even in that article that was written in the Standard today saying that this must be a person with very powerful, well-connected friends, because to be able to get these call logs and the details of these phone records, that is no mean task. It requires quite a high level of connection. But also a big question that begs is this information clearly was not obtained legally, because then there needs to be a process in court that then a court order seeks for this call records, or if you like. So since there was no such case, it then would follow they were apparently obtained illegally. And if so, how do you then submit information that was not obtained, at least in a very clear fashion, to a commission, Judicial Service Commission, to be able to investigate all these issues being raised? So it will be interesting to see, if at all it is admitted by the JSC, how they'll navigate, Betty, around the question of how this very crucial information that is really at the heart of this petition, how it was obtained, and also the implications even to the mobile service provider, because there would need to be a sworn affidavit that they assented to this, allowed for this information to be given, at what, on what basis did they allow for that to happen, and also who gave that clearance. So it will be quite an argument to make, and we'll wait to see if at all we get there, Betty.
Sophia Wanuna there, reporting from the Supreme Court, just giving us the latest details with regards to that petition. As you can see, she's holding it in her hands. She's been able to peruse through it, and she can ascertain that indeed all the allegations that have been made, if you read the Standard newspaper, you'll be able to just sift through what really the issues have been brought forward, the phone conversations, the alleged phone conversations, the meetings that apparently are alleged to have been between the two judges and people who are related, or people who are close to the NASA principals and leaders. Interesting.